ladies and gentlemen, another daily reset, and we have a brand new list of debuffed characters in Otherworld Battle. I'm blind reacting to this, so we're going to talk about what the new debuff characters mean for the game mode for this week, for Vibranium and Challenger players, and then we're going to be talking about what worked and didn't work from last week's banned list, which, if you don't remember, was Jean Grey, Spider-Man, and Hulk. And let's check it out here before we get any further. We got our weekly rewards, very cool. Whoa, that's a long-ass list, buddy. Holy shit. So this week's debuffed characters is still Hulk, still Jean, still Spider-Man, but now it's Wolverine, and, Adam, and Thanos. Holy shit, I'm at a loss for words. This is crazy. This is really good. This is really, really good. I must say, I know Wolverine just came out, and I know some people are going to be upset about this because they want to play with Wolverine, and he's only going to have 5% of his attack and defense and HP, so he's basically useless. But this is really good for the game, guys, because it really pushes players to innovate and to build out more of their roster for this game mode. This is really good. Wow. I'm actually shocked that the devs were this bold about it. I really hope that they stick to their guns and they continue to do this. I thought it was going to be months before we saw 6 characters fully banned, because it says up to a maximum of 6 characters. So I thought it was always going to be 3, maybe sometimes 4, but never 6. Never. And in the second week of this, they've already banned 6 characters, including, look, the 3 most recent additions to PvP, right? Thanos, Adam, and Wolverine. That's absolutely fucking crazy, and I love it. These devs are cooking. They're cooking massively. This is awesome. So yeah, for those of you that don't know what this means, like it says right there, these characters only have 5% of their stats for this game mode, right? For this week, for this game mode, from Saturday to Saturday. If you're here in the East Coast, you know, well, it's still Saturday. It's Saturday everywhere in the world. No, it might be Sunday for some of you guys. But anyways, you get what I'm saying. So you basically can't use these characters if you're in Vibranium or Challenger for Otherworld Battle for this week. I mean, you can use these characters, but they have extremely low stats, and they die almost instantly, and they do basically 0 damage. So yeah, and that is in addition to these other debuffs, which blast characters damage decreased by 500%, mind resist characters damage received increased by 250, and universal characters recovery rate decreased by 250%. So yeah, wow. You're gonna have to throw out the whole basket. Now, before we get into the new build and the new sort of strategy and sort of going over maybe some best build ideas for this week for Otherworld Battle, I want to talk about last week. So last week, Jean, Thanos, and Spider-Man were banned, and that opened the door for Wolverine to basically dominate. If you guys didn't really see what happened, or if you didn't experience it yourself, Wolverine dominated Otherworld Battle, and you can actually go and see, you can check the teams. I was regularly in the top 100, but yeah, the teams have actually already changed a little bit. The people are already adapting to the new ban lists, but for people who aren't adapting to the ban lists just yet, it was Wolverine. It was Wolverine all day, every day. There was a little bit of Carnage, of course. Some people were using Colossus, some people were using Hela, some people were using Agent Venom, specifically with Carnage, but it basically came down to who had the better Wolverine build. That is essentially how it came down, and whichever Wolverine triggered their artifact first would lose. That was essentially how it was for the last week. Now, you'll see Adam on my team here. I originally had the idea of going with Reflect and going with characters like Luke Cage, etc. However, despite having his damage decreased by 500%, Adam is still able to put in some work. Surprisingly, not actually that surprising. It seems surprising, but it's not that surprising, because in this game they nerf Jean Grey by like 1,000% and she's still good, right? Like, it's just the magnitudes of these characters are massive. So Adam was still doing some work for me, and especially because he can revive, it is quite meaningful. So this was the team that I ended up going with. Unfortunately, none of my predictions for last week were correct. I mean, having more supports was certainly a prediction that I think a lot of people saw coming, and that did work out. But other than that, last week was just kind of a shit show, and it was basically just, like I said, down to who had a better Wolverine build, with a little bit of Adam sprinkled in and Carnage sprinkled in as well. Now, a lot of people have slept on Carnage, mostly because he was difficult to play in PvE. There were better options for combat types, and he, was quickly replaced, or sort of power creeped by Jean Grey. But Carnage is actually really strong still, and the thing that Carnage doesn't suffer from that a lot of these other characters suffer from is getting banned. Getting banned, getting debuffed is a quick ticket to irrelevancy. And Carnage dodges that. He dodges all of the rumors and accusations. On top of that, Carnage has the benefit of being able to leverage one of the best PvP supports in the game, specifically for symbiotes, and that is Agent Venom. So I think this week what you're going to see a lot of is this. You're going to see a team centered around Carnage, particularly if you have a really good build on him. Now, I'll talk about why my build doesn't really work out right now, but you know, for the most part, you're going to see builds and you're going to see shell teams like this. From here, the other two options are really going to be a little bit up in the air. You could have some people being kind of cute and trying full symbiote teams because, again, Agent Venom buff applies to all symbiotes. So Toxin, people forget, he has iframe ignore. He's actually not bad for PvP. I can't remember if Venom has iframe ignore. I know he certainly ramps his tier 3 really fast. Venom does not have iframe ignore. So you might see teams like this even. If we go back and we highlight by symbiote, you might even see teams like this. You have 2 immortalities, right? People forget Null has immortality baked into his kit, although he's not really a PvP threat. Again, giving that strength of Agent Venom to everyone on the team but Wasp is by no means a small buff, right? These become very tanky characters, and you may even see teams do this, and this is potentially going to be, I mean, I might be wrong, I might be overstating how strong this is going to be, but I could certainly see this as well. You know, Commander did a really good job highlighting Toxin when he came out. He's a decent PvP character. He's not bad. He's not bad. And Colossus, if you can build him tanky enough with a brilliant egg or a brilliant regen, he actually ends up reflecting a lot. And of course, reflect is going to be really powerful this week because there's no Jean, there's no there's no Adam, right? Remember, there's no Jean and there's no Adam. So all that energy damage is just sucked out, right? You still can't use Emma or Blue Dragon because Mind Resist and Blast just gets absolutely cucked. So you basically can't use any energy damage dealing characters. There's basically no energy damage dealing characters worth any value who are available. So I mean, that just leaves the door open for tons of combat types, which is really cool because I like combat types. It also leaves the door open for a bunch of physical damage characters. Beyond stuff like this, if you don't want to get really cute with symbiotes, which I actually might try myself because I think it's really fun, and I'll go over my symbiote builds in just a little bit. If you don't want to go with the symbiote team, but you've built up some recent additions, a lot of people forget Juggernaut has a really good kit for PvP. If you have his artifact at a high level, it is the same artifact as Gilgamesh. So when his HP drops, he gets a massive buff, he gets a heal, and then he gets a massive HP buff. Look at this, just on a 3-star artifact, which is the lowest you can get, okay? He's going to get a buff of 40% increase to his max HP for 15 seconds. That's insane, 40%, and he also pops a 40% heal. And again, look at his HP, 141,000. Now, I am using a mighty regen, but that's a lot of HP, my friend. That's a lot of HP. And I can't remember on Juggernaut, but I believe he has iframe ignore. He does on his 4th skill on Stonebreaker Smash. So iframe ignore. I believe he has reflect. He has an auto heal. Does he have reflect? He has damage. He has 40% damage reduction, and he has super armor. He either has reflect or reflect reduction. He has none of those things. I'm just talking out of my ass here, people. Yeah, I could not remember. But yeah, Juggernaut's very strong. He could see some use this week if Carnage is not too dominant. And then keeping on the side of combat types, people also forget about Sabretooth. He just got a tier 3, and although his damage is low, he does have that very sticky immortality. Very valuable this week, especially as people try out different teams. Now, I don't want to harp too much about combat types and too much about, immortality, but people also forget Shang-Chi is pretty good. Iframe ignore, reflect. Reflect could see a comeback this week. I was wrong about it last week, but hey, I can still hope and pray for maybe a Defenders team. Maybe somebody tries Luke Cage and Jessica Jones and Colossus and something like that. I don't know. It's possible. The thing is, here's the thing. When you take out a lot of high DPS characters, defense starts to become so valuable. And if you can't get those initial kills at the start of the fight, the war of attrition sets in, and characters who have auto healing, characters who can tank a lot, characters who can reflect, they end up being very, very valuable. A couple of other options here that have come to mind now that we have this new crazy debuff list. If you have a PvP build for Black Widow, I know she's a speed type. I know a lot of people are going to scoff at this one, but Black Widow with a Mighty or Brilliant Greed does a lot of work. And when that tier 4 triggers and she gets 30 free dodges, that's Spider-Man on steroids, baby. She's got to survive until then, which can be tough. But again, survivability becomes less of an issue when you're not being one-shotted by Wolverine and Jean Grey and Hulk, right? Carnage doesn't have a lot of one-shot potential. He needs a little bit to ramp. He needs to take damage, yada, yada. So we might see the rise of these types of characters who benefit more from being alive longer because they're able and they're given the chance to ramp, right? You have characters who are sort of bursty in PvP, like Hulk and Jean, and then you have characters who perform very well when they're given a little bit of time to breathe and a little bit of time to ramp. Another option here that people might have forgotten about because the universal debuff is pretty punishing, but Gore. Gore is still really good. He can't heal, which sucks, but he still has the rest of his kit. So he has, insane damage and pierce and penetration with the super guard break immunity, the super guard break that he spams on his second skill, and he still has good damage reduction, great damage reduction if you've built him with a brilliant authority. So even though he can't heal, he might still be very annoying and very difficult to kill. Another sort of sleeper here for some of the accounts that maybe don't have the newest metas invested, Dr. Doom. Still potentially very good. Again, suffers from not being able to heal, but with Dr. Doom, he only had one heal anyways, so it doesn't actually cripple him as much as it cripples other characters that needed to heal. His damage, again, falls off a little bit nowadays, but he has the revive, and if he pops up the tier 3, everything is dead, right? If for some reason he manages to evade death and he pops the tier 3, it's lights, it's curtains. Another option, again, doesn't heal a lot, so isn't really punished that much by the recovery rate decrease, Silver Surfer. And, Carnage doesn't have that many iframes, so Reflect could rear its not-so-ugly head. Besides that, I don't really see a lot of options for a couple of other incumbents. Like, I would like to hope maybe someone like Magic can survive here, but from what I remember, yeah, she has Mind Resist. She gets nuked twice. So she takes 250% increased damage as a Mind Resist character, and then she does 500% less damage. So despite having the immortality tag, she doesn't really, she doesn't really benefit this week very much from Spider-Man being banned, and it's possible that other speed types are going to fill the vacuum, which would, again, further invalidate the presence of any kind of speed characters. And unfortunately, that also matters for Mr. Sinister, who also has an immortality artifact that people forget about, because this clown, oh, you know what? He doesn't. Oh, interesting. So Mr. Sinister could see play here. Wow, you could actually field Mr. Sinister. Holy shit. So he has type advantage over Carnage, which is very nice. He does deal 500% less damage. So yeah. But man, you know what? You know what might come back? This might come back. Yep. This might come back. The full Eternals lineup. Because Cersei, even with the damage reduction, she gets the revive. Gilgamesh, you might not be able to kill Gilgamesh. Who knows, bro? Who knows? So it'll be very interesting. I think this week will be very, very fun. More testing than last week. I was a little bit disappointed last week with how little it mattered with those 3 characters debuffed. But now with this, I think with this many characters debuffed, you're going to see a lot of variety and you're going to see a lot of experimentation, and I'm very, very excited for it. Let me just wrap up the video really quickly by showing you guys, I said I was going to show you guys why my Carnage build sucks. There you go. Carnage in PvP needs a PvP build. He's not a hybrid character despite having the immortality passive, despite what some people may tell you. I'm currently using him with a rage to climb Gore World Boss Legend, but I'm almost done, so I should be able to swap him over soon. If you're hoping for a build recommendation, I would say go with a Mighty or a Brilliant Greed. Brilliant might be a little bit too rich for most players and too expensive, given that Jean wants one and Adam wants one and Wolverine wants one. So yeah, another option is a Mighty or Brilliant Egg. However, the egg performs worse when it's Mighty. So if you only have an option for Mighty, I would say go for a Greed. If you have an option for a Brilliant, I would say Egg can work almost as well as Greed. Just a bit of a different strategy, you know, offense versus defense. And then you also have the opportunity, you have the chance, if you want to build him super tanky instead, you could go with an Authority. But again, I think a Brilliant Authority is kind of necessary for Carnage. But all that tankiness plus not Adam Warlock, plus Agent Venom, plus Colossus, holy shit. A brilliant Authority Carnage with Colossus and Agent Venom this week may be unkillable. Unless it's like a Brilliant Greed Carnage who gets lucky. Anyways, hit me up in the comments down below. Let me know what you think of this week's Otherworld Battle debuffs. Absolutely crazy. They managed to ban all 6 of these. Wild stuff. Absolutely love it. Take care. Smash the like button, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks.